Let's try some criticism about Crime Budge and Copper Stopper. So the price is, say, acceptable. Paperback edition, it's what, £28. Uh, Toolkits, documents, file, forms, regulation codes, case log books, resources, codes of practice, codes of. Okay, my criticism is this. I believe that you can write to the legal department because the legal department makes the settlement. So normally the route is solicitor. The solicitor talks to the barrister. The barrister makes a clear report of the violations and infringements, and then I guess together they write, or the barrister writes to the legal department to explain the violations and try to avoid court. You can do that too by writing to the legal department. Of course, not everybody has these inclinations, and there's no actual helpline to help with small things. I'm wondering if Support Through Court does that kind of writing letters of mediation. Possibly not. Possibly not. They just help with filling out paperwork. But that's also part of the pre-action protocol letter. So it's just paperwork, how you word it. Now, once you write to the legal department, the mistake of the legal department will be to diminish and just say, yeah, this is what we did. We did what we did because we believe it was all right. And then you say, well, excuse me, legal department doesn't know this, doesn't know that, and doesn't know that. So the legal department made a potential mistake. So this means another formal complaint, and this means even the legal department didn't fulfill their duties, and so they are ignorant of the law. And the law is, I guess, you can't hurt or cause injury or pretend to do things you didn't do. Normally, police doesn't have a warrant of search, a warrant of arrest, a warrant of entry, a warrant of anything. Yeah, they just assume that that's what they do, and they receive a phone call, and based on one phone call, this means you're convicted or you're free to be subjected to a voluntary interview, which a voluntary interview is nothing voluntary in the voluntary interview, but it is a voluntary interview, meaning, if you don't want to go there, you shouldn't go there. And meaning that's already a systematic fault in. So, you can't breach the voluntary interview. So, if I don't want to have a voluntary interview, you can't have a voluntary interview under force, duress, and coercion. So that already is something wrong. I'm not sure if Copper Stopper addresses this issue. Possibly they do, but it's a bit too much paperwork. 346 pages of practical advice on how to overcome, prevent, combat, challenge complaints, sue, and prevail. Yeah, well, the mistakes at the legal department are blatant, are childish. Even the legal department of police, it's easy to get an email. They don't know what to uphold. So they are just like, we did what we did because we did what we did, because uh, we made an opinion. Right, so that's a fault at the legal department already. So, once the legal department corrects its mistakes, so they have to be able to criticize the police equally, because it's where the standard is coming from. So the standard is what is acceptable, you see, and 17 bruises, for example, is not acceptable. Most solicitors and barristers will disprove that they, or injury companies, they'll just say, oh, we only do injuries, but not this kind of injuries because we don't. So it doesn't matter. An injury is an injury, and there's little excuse. So basically, you have to try and write yourself if you don't have a solicitor sometimes, and then even go against the legal department to make a formal complaint about legal department because they are also ignorant in upholding anything whatsoever. Now, I comprehend they're trying to protect them, but they're making a mistake because their job is not to protect the police. Either they're able to hold them accountable, get apologies, get retraining, get this correct mistakes, correct bad behavior, or not. And apparently, the legal department is failing totally, so they deserve their own criticism. And I don't believe, I mean, that's just how I see things. Yeah, maybe Rob Warner has addressed this issue, but something tells me he didn't. So I'm ready to apologize if that's not the case. You don't need 346 pages for that. But yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. You don't need much case law to say I was injured, I have 17 injuries. Yeah. And yeah, well, that might help. This may help. This is for the lawyers to remember all these things and um, so big fault is at the legal department who are ignorant of the law. They're not supposed to protect the police because they're lawyers, and as lawyer, you can't just say, well, oh, there was a little bit of abuse. So their job is more to be on the critical side of things rather than belittling uh, injuries from police or anything else. Yeah, if the search warrant is missing, if the victim statement is missing, if the whatever warrant of arrest is missing, if they simply don't have enough evidence to issue a warrant of arrest, then they can't just have unlawful entry based on somebody made a call of a suspicion. Yeah, and then when it turns out the suspicion was not true, because it wasn't a reasonable suspicion in the first place, then the police fails to go against those who made false claims. So this is again a fault in the full training of the legal department, and um, so yeah, so basically the victim becomes the aggressor. Yeah, I mean anybody can clearly see that um, some things have to be addressed in a critical way.